From 1948 to 1951, the CA Braves went through 3 different coaches with limited successes on the field. Then came 1952, a pivotal year for Canandaigua football, with the introduction of Pennsylvania native Clarence Akey as head coach. Akey initiated some fresh ideas for the embattled football squad. For the 1952 season opener, Akey had portable lights brought in for CA's first and only night game at Evans Field. Akey also instilled a sense of discipline and toughness to the CA players. In 1955, Akey fielded a respectable team with the likes of George Kalitz, Rock Vitalone, Jack Wild, Howie Keys, Jim Rafferty, Joe Marafiotti, Mike Cutri, Buddy Quayle, Ron Montaigne, and Jim Del Forte.
We had our head coach was Clarence Akey. He'd go to Cleveland Browns camp every year and try to pick up what they had, bring it back to us. And Akey was ruthless. He was tough.
Clarence Akey used to make us carry each other and run 5 yards. Now, like I put Mike on my shoulder and had to run 5 yards to strengthen our legs. Well, he put me with John Haight. Now, big John Haight weighs 300 and some pounds, and they're still trying to fill in the holes that I was making when I was running with John Haight.
Clarence was an old school, hard guy, and not very tall, stood pretty short in the huddle, but I can remember plenty of nights running the old hill.
You remember that hill, guys? How many times we had to run that hill?
Oh yeah.
Every time we done something wrong, woo.
After every practice.
There's a hill at Evans Field where it's a real sharp upgrade, and we had to take that hill.
And that hill, we hated that hill because that was we'd run that hill forever. We'd crab the hill up and down, you know, on all fours, and Clarence loved us doing that. You'd swim the hill doing this, you know, all conditioning. Oh, we hated it.
They really worked us hard. I remember in football running up that hill. Remember that? You'd think you were all done, and then they had this hill. You know, at the time it seemed like it was 40 feet high.
As soon as you run up the hill, you go back and get in line. You run up the hill, you go back and get in line. That was the killer. But it got us in good shape.
I really loved the guy, and all of us did. He was a tough coach, but he was an innovative coach. He had the call blocking when nobody even knew what that meant.
You know, Clarence was a little ahead of his time. Back when he came, he brought in, we ran the T formation, and sometimes run a wing. He didn't throw the ball like they do today. We were more or less a power running team, but he had a numbering system for the line, and before every play, once you got to the line of scrimmage, the tackle, the center, then the left tackle would all call out numbers, and for whoever we were running, that would be the blocking scheme we were going to use for that play.
Depending on which play had been called, whatever hole the play was going to go through, I think the odd number was man on man, and an even number would have been a cross block. So you had the option, in my case, as a tackle, to set up the block for the play that if it was going to be run through your hole.
And that was just unheard of back then. So he was really ahead of his time with that type of offensive system.
We competed very hard. We really tried to do well. We worked as a team, and we had some success.
They did buy the best equipment. We were the only guys that had girdles with all the pads in them instead of the hip pads. I think we had the best equipment, shoulder pads, what have you. And I remember they issued us the leather helmets the first year.
Back then, Notre Dame wore these leather helmets. Well, we got these leather helmets. I mean, today you couldn't get away with them. They were the most unsafe thing, but we thought they were the greatest thing since ice cream back then.
And when I got over here to Canandaigua, they had a leather helmet. They had McGregor leather helmets, and I'd never seen those before in my life. And I thought at first they were a new type of helmet. Then I come to find out they're facing them out.
When Clarence came in, they were trying to appease Frank Baker, so we did get a lot of good equipment, and we got it early, and it kept changing. We started out with the single bar and the face mask, and then we got the baskets. So I think that, like I say, our equipment kept improving. That was the big thing. We all had to shine our shoes before the game.
And I couldn't remember the numbers, a 41 quickie and a 28 quickie. I got it straight now, the boys told me. And I'd pull out of the line, I'd have to run ahead of Joe to the goal line. And Joe would always wonder, how come you're standing up? You should hit somebody. I said, nobody dared run in front of me. So Joe and I'd run over the goal line together, and he'd get all the praise. Marfiotti made touchdown. What about the fat guy that ran in front of him? But, you know, and Mike Cutri the same way. Mike had it on the other side of the line. They would pull a 41 quickie, and away Mike would go. How'd you make out, Mike?
Buddy always outran me.
Buddy always outran you. There you go. Yeah, Buddy was a scamper, man. He was fast. But we had a great time playing football in 1957. That was 50 years ago.
And you know, we had a lot of school spirit. It seems like the stands were always full of people. They all came out, and we had a lot of support, community. It was good.
First game they had was against Edison Tech, and they got portable lights that were probably, I would say, about 12 to 14 feet off the ground. And during the game, the lights went out, and then they got them going again. But the big thing was that Canandaigua won that game. It was the first win in a long time. And Art Warren was the superintendent, remember? And he came out, and all of the crowd put Clarence on their shoulders, and they carried him off the field like he won the Super Bowl. It was just incredible. I mean, the way the people gathered around him, and we're so glad to have Clarence here as a coach, because it was almost like a renaissance in football.